Today we have a very special speaker. I think you spoke at Brakpan last week or 2 weeks ago. Okay, wonderful. Same topic, right? Okay, so I think you'll all enjoy it. I heard feedback from that topic and it was wonderful. So if you'd all give a warm welcome to Michelle Moss as she talks about multiple streams of income.
Yay! I brought my own pop-pop section. Before I start, actually, I am recording this so I can put it on YouTube, so if you don't mind me asking, please keep your cell phones on silent. At the end of my talk, I will remind you to take them off silent again, because I know that sometimes Bruce goes into a meeting and he puts it on silent, and then later on in the day I'm phoning, and he never answers, and he has like 20 missed calls from me because he doesn't hear it. So if you would do that, I would really, really appreciate that. Thank you. I spoke here last year when my book came out, 20 Beautiful Women, Africa Edition. And I spoke about how I grew up with my family in debt, hiding behind the bed because the creditors were peering in through the windows, and I wasn't allowed to answer the phone, I wasn't allowed to let people know I was here, because if they knew I was there, then they'd stay at the door, and if I opened the door, they'd They'd do that! And right through the house, I would not have appreciated that. So, if I'd opened the door, they would have come in and removed furniture, which when you're 10 years old, you're not really set up to do that. But the one thing I didn't really mention in the book, which by the way, these copies are available for sale, is how this growing up in debt led to my passion for financial freedom. Yes, I worked in the financial industry for many years, and when I was studying for my banking exams, one of our topics was principles of investing. It was fascinating. You know that there's usually a page in the newspaper, and it's rows and rows and columns of numbers, which meant nothing to me. And when I studied principles of investing, I got to figure out what those were. This was the stock exchange. This was the share prices of the various stocks in the stock exchange. And I was fascinated by this. I thought, oh wow, well, this is interesting. And then thought I had to leave the bank to go and pursue this, only to find that the bank did actually dabble in that side of things. And so I got a transfer from salaries department into the foreign settlements area at Standard Bank. So I was dealing with gilts. Now bear in mind, this was in the early 90s. Stocks and shares was paper. Long before electronic settlements. The clients I was dealing with were all based in New York. My clients were Bear Stearns, Merrill Lynch, Salomon Brothers, all of which no longer exist. It wasn't me. Thought I'd mention that. Gilt settlements would happen on a Thursday, so you'd have a week between the trade and the settlement, and Thursdays would all traipse down to the annex next door to the JSE, and paper would go, paper. And you'd go back to the office, and then you'd have to capture it all on the computer and send it down to the vault. I did that for about 3 years. And eventually I got sick and tired of the bank. And apart from which, by this time, gilts were now going totally electronic. They were being dematerialized. In fact, the week that they were dematerialized, the E168s, which was Eskom shares, when you're at the bank, people always deliver to you late, so you're not working late, because you've got to now balance this stuff before you can go home, before you can send it down to the vault. E168 was a huge share, and my boss was there, and all the managers from different departments are helping to come and reconcile this lot. So if you imagine your standard bank manager desk with share certificates, which were about A4, piled high, and there was no space on the desk whatsoever. And everybody was helping. And after a while, it becomes a case of there is too many cooks spoiling the broth. And they said, okay, listen, there's too many people here trying to help us balance. So maybe you can go home now. They didn't want to pay us excess overtime. That was my theory. And 6 of them stayed behind to balance the shares. Then I said, gilts settled on a Thursday. Friday morning we come in, and those 6 people are in the same clothes they were in the day before. They didn't go home that night. Balancing the dematerialization of those E168s took them all night, and they were still busy. One lady still had to leave early because it was her daughter's matric farewell that day, and she said it's time to go and finish the dress. So she's like, well, I've done my 8 hours of work for Friday, so cheers, bye, I'm going. Yeah, that was E168. So after that, I left and I joined a stockbroking firm, Barnard Jacobs Millett. I joined there in 97. We're not getting old, are we? Joined there in 97, and I was busy with securities lending. So people would go, oh, stockbroking, whoa! I might have been a teenager at stockbrokers, but they just get such an impression. You work for a stockbroker, you must be like uber intelligent. Then I actually told them what I do. And when you explain to them what securities lending is, they still don't quite totally get to grips with it. So let me explain it to you quickly. So you're my client, and you've sold your shares. Guild settle on Thursday, shares settle on Tuesday. You've sold your shares, paper, remember. You've sold them today. Next week, Tuesday, they've got to be delivered. Maybe you're my client and I've got your shares because you've kept them in safe custody with me. Maybe not. Maybe you've decided you're going to keep them under your mattress. Fine, no problem. But now I've got to deliver them to you. Now I've got to wait for her to deliver them to me so I can deliver them to you. Because maybe you've actually sold them on again. I'm not putting them into safe custody for you. So now I have to wait. And there's always penalties. So no problem, no hassle. I'll go to the bank. Excuse me, she sold 300 shares. I'm going to borrow them from you. I'll deliver to you. Eventually, when I get your shares back, I deliver them to you. You'd given me shares, I paid you money. Simple. 500 million rand a week is what I did. The money that I put up with the bank earned interest. Anybody ever got a home loan in the late 1990s? Do you remember what interest rates were?
At its worst, 24%.
On a debit balance, yes. Of course, I was putting money with the bank, so I was earning a mere 18%. Yes, 500 million rand a week. I was earning the company 18 million rand a year in interest. Sounds awesome, hey? What was my package?
Basic salary, I'm sure.
My package was less than 1% of the 18 million. And of course, you know what the package is. The package is your company contributions to medical aid, your company contributions to, the package is always up there. My gross salary was less than 0.5%. And my net take-home pay that hit my bank account was not even worth mentioning. So yeah, I've got this extreme dichotomy, 500 million rand a week. And I'm so low on the company totem pole, I don't even qualify for business cards. Yes, you've got this major image, but I'm not making ends meet in my personal budget on a monthly basis. So, we're women, we make a plan. I started doing average land back then. And so I would, in between the wheelings and dealings of 500 million rand a week, I'd be delivering a lipstick here and a foundation there and so on and so forth. Yeah. One day I had a big fight with my boss. Well, actually, he had a fight with me. You see, I was supposed to be doing the admin behind this one deal. Okay, so it was 20 million rand. But it was going to take me 10 minutes. Yeah, Excel spreadsheet, share code, quantity, price, value. Print it out, sign it, fax it through. Those were the days. Send off to the finance department, get the check drawn up, 10 minutes tops. But I had to deliver this lipstick, because if I didn't deliver this lipstick, I did not have money for lunch. And he tore a strip off me. Okay, yeah, so I was delivering it during the time that he was paying me for, so yeah, he had a right, but I was still between this dichotomy, and he tore a strip off me. He's like, please catch a wake up. Understand, get the bigger picture, 500 million rand a week, and you're worrying about a 35 rand lipstick. Just, please forget that stupid little thing you're doing. Stupid little thing. Let's look at that stupid little thing called network marketing or direct selling. It's a global phenomenon, and it is currently doing a turnover of $178 billion per annum globally. So, sorry BJM, which is by the way since delisted. My stupid little thing is actually a heck of a lot bigger than what that was. $178 billion per annum. That is bigger than the National Football League, NFL, which is $9.5 billion. Video games, $67 billion. The music industry, which is $16.5 billion. And the movie industry, which is $80 billion per annum, only comes to $173 billion, and the network marketing industry is $178 billion per annum. Stupid thing, yes. Of that $178 billion, you might be interested to know that only $34.5 billion of that is done in the US. The rest is the rest of the world. India is big, Australia is big, South Africa is big, and in the UK, sometimes they seem to be a bit, I don't know, conservative? Yeah, but globally, it's a huge industry. In South Africa, according to the 2014 stats, there was 1.1 million independent representatives in South Africa who share in 4.4 billion rands worth of earnings. Billion. That's earnings, not turnover. Oh, and incidentally, 75% of those distributors are women. So, gents, you have some catching up to do. But this talk is about multiple streams of income. So there's different ways you can earn an extra income. You can do your own effort. My granny used to do that when she was raising 2 young teenagers and she was divorced long before being divorced was fashionable. My granny could make the best date loaf and those date balls. Nobody made them like my granny made them. But that's what she was doing because that was long before the technological advances that we have nowadays. You can do the cooking, baking, sewing, woodworking, beekeeping, photography. And it's great if you've got the skill to do that. But please understand that if you're doing it all in your own effort, which sounds noble, it also means you're doing it all in your own risk. I have a friend who's a photographer, and I said to her, yeah, what happens when you break your ankle? Because you know photographers, they get into those really weird kind of positions. She said, yeah, I've done that with an ankle brace on. And if you are doing it all for yourself, you are totally at risk. You need to hedge your bets. So you need to look at other ways of getting a recurring income. Writing a book is one excellent way of having a recurring income. You've done the work once, and you just get it reprinted, and you can print out as many as you need, and each time you sell a book, you're making an income. Of course, if you're J.K. Rowling, so much better, because then you can get much better income than a small little book like this one. If you've got a bit more money, you can invest in vending machines. Even more money, you can invest in a franchise. Property is the classic one, which is advocated by Robert Kiyosaki, and there are many people. In fact, it's the #1 income generating industry globally. Network marketing comes second. But property, to invest in property, you need to get a home loan, which is easier to do if you're an employee getting a pay slip. If you're self-employed, it's a little bit more of a challenge. Sure, you can invest if you've got the cash, you can invest in gold coins, Krugerrands, and I don't know, maybe you could put that up as collateral for a home loan. I'm sure, and there's plenty of people here in the property industry, I'm sure they can help us out on that. But let's look closer at MLM. Because sometimes network marketing has a bit of a bad reputation. Sometimes bad reputation comes from our own behavior. But let's look at this. In order to assess a network marketing opportunity, there's 3 things you need to look at in terms of your due diligence. Number 1, is there a product? Your classic one is Tupperware. Tupperware's been going, I don't know, 80 years or so? Okay, there has to be a product. So Tupperware, makeup, accessories, shakes, vitamins, you name it, you can get those. Sometimes they're financial products, so it's hard to see or touch or feel. You know, what flavor is your airtime? You know, what color is your insurance? It's difficult to quantify, but it's still a financial product. The test there is, if you walked away from the business side of the opportunity, do you still have a valuable product? Your second thing you need to look at is your opportunity listed with the Direct Selling Association? Now, this is not how can I put this? This is not the be-all and end-all, simply because it's a voluntary organization. So just because a company is not listed there doesn't mean they're bad. It does mean you need to do more investigation though. If they are listed with the Direct Selling Association, understand that they've gone through at least 12 months of intense scrutiny and checked to be ethical, legal, all that kind of thing. So it makes your life a whole lot easier. If they're not listed there, you need to go and do some more research. I like to go onto Google and, okay, I'm a bit unorthodox. I put in the name of the opportunity followed by the word scam. Because I want to see, because everybody's got haters. The fact that Coca-Cola exists tells me that Pepsi has haters, and vice versa. The other could not exist if the one didn't have haters. So if big brands like Coke and Pepsi have haters, then the opportunity you're looking at is going to have haters. I want to see those stories. Ideally, what I'm looking for is, I joined this opportunity and I'll make no money. Ah, that sounds like a good story. Click on it, go and find out. Why didn't you make money? Oh, you didn't do any work. Yeah, no surprises there. I mean, even beekeeping, sure, you don't make the honey, but you've got to go to the hives and collect the honey and decant. There's work involved. If you don't work, you don't earn. That's the kind of story I'm happy to see. However, there are some where you go and they onto Google, X opportunity, scam, and sometimes you get some very interesting bait and switch kind of links, where it's usually in caps, usually with a bunch of exclamation marks. Expose! X opportunity is the worst thing, blah blah, check here to find out more, and you click it. And as you get to the new website, out come the pom-poms. Ta-da! This is the best thing since sliced bread! Hit the back button and go and find the next one, and the next one, and the next one. And usually by about page 8, you get to some really interesting stories about why you might not want to invest in those kind of opportunities. Do your research. It's your time, it's your money, it's your reputation. Go and check them out. So that was DSA as your second option. The third thing you need to look at is the type of opportunity. Is it direct selling or is it network marketing? Direct selling is your typical party plan. Direct selling is where you start at the beginning of the month with 0 and you sell a lipstick or a lunchbox or a necklace. And maybe you meet your target at the end of the month. Hurrah! I've met the target. And by the first of the next month, you back down to 0. And you start again, you start again, you start again. Tupperware works that way, Average Lane works that way. I think Honey works that way as well. But don't dismiss it. If you are one of the 27.1% unemployed in South Africa, please understand there are people who can do that and make an excellent living. If, however, you have a job, maybe the targets that are set are a bit too strenuous for you. That's where I personally find, and yes, I'm biased towards network marketing, that's where I prefer multi-level marketing, where you have a financial product. Because the financial products go off by debit order, you never revert back to 0. So I sign up one person today, and next week I sign up the next person. Oh, now I've got a sore throat, I can't do anything more this month. So next month I come to you and I've signed up the third person. I haven't lost these people, I haven't lost their income because their debit orders are still going off. And yes, it's slower, but in the long run, it pays out further. So you're getting your return or your rebate or your commission on your financial products, and it can build a nice recurring passive income. And let's face it, if you're in the position I was in back at BJN, where your monthly expenses are exceeding your income, you need to make a plan. You start with fixing your monthly expenses so that you can make ends meet. From there, once you've got the extra income, now you can decide, what am I going to do with that extra income? Am I going to invest in Kruger Rands? Am I going to invest in property? Because we're looking at multiple streams of income. The interesting phenomenon that I found by playing Cashflow 101, which is a board game by Robert Kiyosaki. You may know he wrote Rich Dad Poor Dad. He's written a bunch of books, including this one, The Business School for People Who Like Helping People. The 8 hidden values of a network marketing business other than making money. Robert Kiyosaki himself says if he had to start all over again and not start with business, he would start with network marketing. And he's given his reasons why in this book. But when playing Cash Flow 101, the one thing that I have noticed is that the people who get out of the rat race first, by getting out of the rat race, you get your monthly expenses covered by something other than your job. People who get out of the rat race first are typically those who earn least. Doesn't sound obvious, does it? But think about it. If you earn 3,000 Rand and your expenses are 2,000 Rand, and let's say with whichever opportunity you're earning 100 Rand per sale, you only need 20 sales in order to meet your monthly expenses. If this person earns 30,000 Rand and their expenses are 20,000 Rand, with the same opportunity that's giving you 100 Rand per sale, this person needs 200 sales in order to meet their monthly requirements, their monthly expenses. So those, if you've ever played the game, the janitor is usually one of those who easily gets out of the rat race first. And I'm going to make an offer to each and every one of you. I have the board game. If you want to learn these principles and you want to come and play the game, come touch base with me afterwards and let's set up a game, because you can try these different principles. I'd rather bomb out on a game than in real life, personally, just maybe. But the real question here is, with multi-level marketing being the global phenomenon that it is, I have only one question for you, and that is, when are you going to join it? Because if you aren't yet, you will be sooner, if not later. That's my story. Thank you. Are there any questions? Not all at once, please. Yes.
What about tax?
What about tax?
Pay it.
You all have to pay tax. My granny would always say, you're big fat and ugly enough to know you have to pay tax. But as a network marketer, understand that you're not an employee of the company. So in the same way that if you were investing in property, and say now you're between the home loan repayments that you're paying and the rent that you're receiving, and maybe you're getting 500 Rand positive cash flow on that, who would deduct your tax off that? There's no one there. It's not an employer thing. And the same thing is true with network marketing. Once you've got these multiple streams of income, you probably need to register for provisional tax. The good news is you don't have to do that yourself. You can outsource that to somebody like Salo, who does that. You still need to pay it, unfortunately. That's life. But it's something that you need to consider. But yes, there are 27% of South Africans who would love to have the privilege to be earning so much money that they want to pay provisional tax. Yes.
If I don't like the company that I've joined, could I get out there easily?
Most times, yes. There are some that don't like you having more than one going at a time because it is difficult to focus. But if the company you're joining, and yes, read the terms and conditions. Check whether they want you to have that flexibility or not. So most of them are. Anybody else?
What would you say is the perfect number of income streams?
It depends. You're a financial advisor. Have you ever seen two portfolios that are identical?
No.
Exactly, so it depends. It depends also on your risk structure. Some people want two, others are happy to hedge their bets and have more. And considering the volatility of global markets, it's easy to say, yeah, South Africa's in a bad place and let's leave. Other countries have problems, different problems. We may not like our problems, but we know our problems. So yeah, there's problems everywhere in the world. So it depends on how much you want to hedge your bets.
What about administration and paperwork?
There's no getting away from paperwork. Some have more than others. I know when I was doing Honey, I had to constantly update my book with stuff that was getting sold out. When I was doing Average-Lane, I would sometimes go and do a party and I'd sell 6,000 Rands worth of stuff and 2,000 Rands worth of stuff was already out of stock. And then you have to come back to the person and go, hey, that lipstick you love so much. Sorry. And then maybe it's available again next month when it's not on special anymore. So there's always admin. Some have more admin and paperwork than others. But again, it's a question to ask when you're looking at an opportunity. Ask these kind of questions because now you're showing the person, you're asking intelligent questions. That you're actually interested and you're not just popping it off as, no, this is not good for me. you're actually asking intelligent questions. Anything else? Yes, Mark.
Firstly, thank you. Michelle is a phenomenal woman and in business, and you should actually listen to her. I want to ask you, what do you regard as most important, the knowledge of the business or entity you investing in, or the relationships that you build with your clients?
They say the problem with network marketing is that your past can come back to haunt you. If you've been like I was in stockbroking, you know, I could hoorah with the best of them. I didn't give a damn who I was talking to. You know, you're my client, I need these shares, give it to me now. And I wasn't that polite. Then I came to talk to you about my opportunity. And I'd get pick a finger. My past would come back to haunt me. If you burn the bridge in terms of relationships, then it's going to affect all your businesses. Yes, business knowledge is important, but relationship, I would say, probably trumps that. Because they're very close. They're very close.